Everybody, we are Kate and Kelsey. We are with Psyche Digital. We are a marketing agency that does branding, website design, and ongoing marketing strategy and execution for growth stage organizations. We opened our doors in 2021, and we are just so excited to be here talking to you and to founders about everything marketing, website, and branding.
And today we're going to talk about why a website is extremely important for growth stage organizations and some of the traps that founders fall into when thinking about their website or website redesign.
We're going to start this off with a story about one of the companies that we adore working with. We've worked with for a couple of years now, Barn Precision Agriculture, BOPA. This founder is just an amazing human being. She is in the robotics space, female-led company, doing autonomous nano robots for small to medium-sized farms.
Her name is Sarah Hinckley.
Yeah.
Many of you might already be familiar, actually.
We met Sarah at a conference. She came to us saying, hey, I hear you guys are the marketing people. We need help with our brand. We need to update our logo. We need to update our visuals. And she was right. When we started talking to her, she did need to update her brand to show up as this growing startup that is on this leading edge of robotics in ag tech. But the whole need was much larger than that. Beyond visuals, there was a lot of work to be done in terms of the story that was being told and how it was being told to the audience she was trying to reach. There was a lot of work in terms of how do we make a website more than just a glorified brochure? How do we turn it into something that's actually going to work as a team member for the BOPA team? How is it going to lift some of that burden of a small, very technical team in terms of shortening sales cycles and making sure that there was this credibility and authority foundation built around the company that was going to make everything move much faster for them. So we started our full power build process, which begins actually long before visuals. It begins with that storytelling and positioning piece. How do we tell a story for this company? We went through that process. We outlined the journey that her customers needed to take, and then also the journey that was important for investors, because they were working very heavily with investors, so there was this dual audience situation going on. Once we got really firm in that story and that positioning, we did the brand visuals and built that off of that great story that we were trying to tell, rather than reactively trying to make a story to fit the visuals. We built a visual story around the word story that we were telling. From there, we mapped out the full journey through the website that people would need to take in terms of what is the website actually trying to do. And for them, there's a lot of things that their website does. One, it is building credibility and authority. It's showing that they actually know what they are doing and how to do it and how to support people. The other thing is their audience is really far reaching. It's not something where you could just do some local ads or something like that to make it successful. It needed to actually help draw these leads into one spot to request more information and help with shortening that sales cycle by making pricing information and the onboarding process really simple for the farmers using their robots. So we did a whole lot of work to build and develop, and I think what we came up with was something really powerful. If you want to check out their website where it is now, barnowlag.com, check them out. They're a really amazing company. We're going to talk about them off and on throughout this conversation because it's a really great illustration of a founder starting with a request of what they think they need and then realizing that there's this whole broad ecosystem that needs to be built.
Yeah, and I think the reason we're bringing this topic today is because this is a really prevalent problem for founders and growth stage organizations where their website is not doing any of the heavy lifting in the business and in fact is actually losing them sales while the founder is sleeping or taking meetings or doing other important business functions because it's just simply telling the wrong story and saying the wrong things and then not getting the message back to the team if there is interest. So we wanted to make sure that this was a topic that we hit early on and hit hard because it's such a huge challenge for growth stage founders. So what does a website have to do for an organization? And yes, websites do have important jobs in your brand. Most websites, of course, need to provide important information about what you offer. And that's where a lot of businesses start, right? You might have heard the term of a brochure site, and that's a website that has information about who you are and what you do. And the buck kind of stops there. Other things that a website can do for you, though, is it can automatically capture leads in your CRM. It can support building your email list for email marketing. It can drive people to your thought leadership. We often think of the website as the content hub where you can house case studies, blog articles, videos, or any other signifiers that you're credible and that you're a leader in your space. And it can also help take some of the burden off of your operations and administration, right? So your website can house important forms. It can drive people to apps that are connected to your business to get them onboarded or interfacing with your team. And all of those things are easily capable with most CMSs, content management systems like Squarespace, WordPress, Webflow, and increasingly even with custom code websites. So the possibilities are really huge. And the great thing about a website is it's a living document as well, right? You can grow it and modify it over time. You can create edits very quickly with the right talent. So it doesn't have to just happen once. It can be something that evolves as your company and as your messaging and audience evolves too.
One thing I'd like to point out beyond the functionality and actual work your website should be doing, your website should also act as one of the leading members of your sales team. That functionality around shortening sales cycles is so important because think about what you do when you learn about a new company or a new brand. If you're actually considering purchasing something from them, you're going to visit their website and you're going to look for reviews and social proof that this company can do the thing that they say they're going to do, and your website can house all of that and you can control that narrative. So rather than relying on the random Google review, you can have those testimonials right on your website and you get to control that narrative, what's being said, in a way that's going to really move the needle for your sales team.
A well-working website means the sales cycle is shorter. It means customers come to you better informed, already having answers to questions they might have been asking or wanting to ask. And ultimately, just easier closed deals.
Yeah, for sure. If your website is just saying what you do but not performing any work, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more it could be doing for you.
Yeah. You mentioned with BOPA's website that they had this dual audience challenge of the customers that they were trying to attract and also the investors. How does that apply to the investor audience?
Yeah, so I think what people don't realize when they are going after funding, especially VC capital or an angel investor, whatever it looks like, whatever you're trying to raise, once you have come into that investor's realm, like they know you exist, they're going to start doing that due diligence. They want to know what you do. And one of the things that they check is your website. The pitch deck's very important. You want to make sure that matches your website so that there's some continuity there. But the website is so important. And if you can't show that you have the good business judgment to build or get the tools you need to build a good website, why would they trust you with investor dollars? So I think there's a lot of signaling there beyond just the messaging and the storytelling of what you do, but about your judgment as a business owner and the quality that you're going to provide. The website's definitely a very important part of that investor relation team.
So we get this question a lot when folks come to us to get support on a website, especially when budgets are tight. Maybe they might be looking for ways to reduce the investment of getting a website built. And they'll ask, what if I write my own copy, right? What if I write the messaging for my website? Can we get this to cost a little bit less?
No, I will charge you more.
Yeah. We say no to this because we understand how important it is to have outside perspective on the messaging. And the founder is the last person who should be drafting that messaging and positioning.
I think founder is a really important part of building the message.
Oh,
like you're holding it in your
doubt.
heart, in your head, like you know exactly what's happening with your company and you need to vocalize that story. But it needs to pass through this filter of someone who is not so deep in the woods to remove jargon and to simplify the language so that someone who is not technical and not breathing, eating, sleeping this every day, so that person can still understand what's happening.
Yeah, I think another important component of the success of messaging is customer interviews, customer discovery, or potential customer if you are pre-product, right? It's like actually talking to advisors, talking to people who need a solution that you are bringing or building, because they will speak about problems in terms of the pain points that they have and the desires and aspirations that they have. That is a really good starting place for powerful messaging, much more so than the features and the functionality of a tool, which is typically where founders like to start because you've put a lot of work into building features.
Yeah, I think one of the big signs for me of a founder built website is you land on the website and there'll be like a click for schedule a call, and then below that it's like a bulleted list of every feature in the product. And it's like, okay, they're really proud of all of these features, and I get it. They should be. It's such a big lift, but you have to lead with values and outcomes to really resonate with your audience.
Yeah. So not knocking a founder. I mean, we know a lot of founders who are very eloquent, well-spoken, can pitch for days. But when it comes to crafting website copy that actually goes to work for your business, this is something that it's valuable to have an outside perspective and some specialist support on as well. So in the BOPA example, you spoke about Sarah approaching you regarding the design, and not specifically the website design, but the design of BOPA's logo and assets and look and feel. And that was a catalyst for approaching a marketing person, but messaging wasn't even in the purview. And then we kind of flipped it on its head and said, we actually need to start with messaging. What's that about? What should someone start with?
Okay, so this goes into branding 101. When we're talking about branding, branding is this process of assigning value to a company or a service or a product. So yes, when we think about brand, when people have this idea of what brand is, their immediate thought is the visuals. It's my logo, it's my color palette, it's what it looks like built out on a page. But none of that is going to matter. You can have a really pretty color palette, you can have a cool looking logo, but if there's no meaning assigned to that, it's going to land pretty flat. It's not going to build that brand affinity. It's not going to create that just awareness in the audiences that you are trying to connect with. So when we're talking about assigning that value or doing that branding work, we really do have to start with that story. And I don't mean a story like your origin story. I mean, we need to dig deep into why does this company exist? Who is it for? What is it trying to do? Why did you decide to do this instead of work for someone else? Entrepreneurship is hard. Why did you decide to do this thing? And how can we tell that story with words and then translate that into visuals that correspond and are memorable?
Yeah, I think one thing that you see with web design is templates that are used repeatedly by different businesses. They're kind of placeholder spots where text can go. And I think visitors get a sense when text is just crammed into a space or filling blanks rather than the design intentionally fitting around a story and a journey that you're being taken on. So the work of understanding the messaging, the story, what the pain points are of the people you're trying to connect with, what the aspirations are of those folks as well. That all contributes to the design of the website and certainly contributes to the design of a logo or a color palette very deeply. And if you start with that story, the outcomes are almost always better.
Absolutely. There's also a lot of research beyond just the story of your brand that needs to go into this. When we're talking about the audience you're trying to connect to, that's important. Doing that audience research, what resonates with them. Another piece is, where are you trying to grow strategically? The brand of a $500,000 or $1 million annual revenue company is very, very different than a 10 or 20 or 50 or $100 million company. Like all of those different stages have different needs, and you need to think about the website you're building for that stage you're trying to grow to.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the case of BOPA, we first worked with Sarah and her team back in 2024. But now, 2026, we are currently working on a messaging revamp and a website revamp for them. Because 2 years passed by in a advanced industry setting, and they have got a lot more going on. Very cool stuff going on.
Very, very cool. And I will say, though, because Sarah was strategic in where she wanted the company to grow, the overall brand is very strong still. What we built for them originally is very strong. Mm-hmm. It's just, at this point, it's a little zhuzh to make it more pointed in the direction they're going next.
Yeah.
But we don't have to throw it out and start over.
Yeah. Going from a regional provider to now a nationwide provider is usually a big one that requires tweaks.
Some zhuzhing, if you will.
Yeah. So when the question comes, should I start with messaging or start with design? We recommend the messaging wholeheartedly, messaging and positioning as a starting place.
Get the story solid, then build. Mm-hmm. We just talked about how messaging needs to come before the design part of a website. What else needs to be considered before someone starts a website design?
Yeah, so the website is a powerful tool in your business arsenal, right? It is a major part of your brand representation. It should be operating like another member of your team, helping with your sales, helping with operations, helping with your marketing. It is most powerful when it's guided by your aspirations. So where do you want to be in 6 months, in 12 months, in 24 months? Thinking about the company that you are becoming and that goal will actually produce stronger outcomes for your website design process. So we like to say, look like an industry leader while you're becoming one, right? So I think that's a really important one. Where do you want to be in 6 months? Where do you want to be in 12 months and in 24 months? What are your business goals, not just today, but in the long term? And what do you need to look like and project and say to help you advance toward those goals?
That's a really great point. And I think part of that is understanding what's happening in your industry and your market. Maybe if you're thinking about those aspirational goals and what that looks like, maybe you need to look like you are outpacing the competition, even if you're not yet, so that you can get there, so that you can actually do those things. And a website can be a tool that does that for you. Maybe you are looking at closing some really huge sales and you need to have the credibility and social proof around you that you can house on your website to make those sales possible. You can tie that to very specific, tangible business goals, but do think in this aspirational level, where can this website help me grow?
Exactly. Yeah. One warning sign that you might need to revise your website is if your aspirations suddenly become much bigger. So we have several founders that we've worked with that were regionally focused in the first couple of years of their business, but then national focus became a priority for them at a stage. That's usually a sign that the design is going to need to be revamped or zhuzhed to meet those new aspirational goals.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have really honed in on in our years and years and years in this space, especially with startups, is that there's these pivotal moments. That's these moments of change in the way you're doing business or the direction that you're trying to go with your business. And those pivotal changes, like going from a regional to a national focus, they do require some attention and some changing to your brand, changing to your website to meet the new need, the new demand.
You've probably already gotten a sense that everything is connected when it comes to your messaging, your positioning, the look and feel, including your brand representation and logos and colors, all the way to your business goals and what you want to accomplish with your organization. All of that is tightly connected. And so in the Power Build, we're actually going through those important steps to get clear on all of that.
So even if you come to us and you say, hey, I already have my messaging, I have all of this stuff, we are going to make you dive into that. It's really important for us to understand it. And we also want to hear the way that you talk about your company and the way that you try to communicate to your audience so that then we can build something that's really authentic to you. We're going to go through that discovery where we ask a ton of questions. We're going to build out that messaging strategy so that you have this amazing toolbox of ways to talk about your business across your whole ecosystem. Because yes, the website is one part of it and something we're talking about today, but you also need that consistent messaging and branding to travel across your ecosystem, your social media, your press mentions, the way that you give an interview and someone hears you talk. That matters too in terms of this whole brand affinity and brand that you're building. Once we get all of those pieces together, then we actually start diving into the website design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is a very important part of the power build. Obviously, that's like the outcome that we want, is to build an incredible website that works very hard for your organization and helps you achieve your business goals and serve the people that you are trying to serve with your solution. So in the website portion of the power build, we start by thinking through the user journey. So when someone lands on the website, what are the possible pathways they can take through the content and through the pages of the site? We build out a site structure map. We outline each page in that site structure with the story that they're telling and the important features of each of those pages. Then we think in depth about the integrations that are needed. Does it need to be connected to a CRM? What kind of analytics reporting is going to be required to help track the success of different assumptions we're making? What are some of the tools in your business that could be made more powerful by connecting to the website? So all of that is done alongside the design of the site, which is also really important. We pride ourselves on building very beautiful websites too.
Yeah, beautiful, but also functional, but also functional. Wow. Functional, scalable. We want something that's going to grow with you and help you get to where you want to be with your business in the future.
And doesn't corner you. Often we'll be approached by businesses that have a website that's fully custom coded or hard coded. There's no way to make edits to it without being a full coder. We try to not put people in that position either.
It's a really great way as a marketing agency to consistently make more money on people because they cannot update their own website. It's rude. You do not have to do that.
Rude.
There's no reason to do that. So
just rude.
it's rude.
Yeah. So the power build, we're very proud of it. We designed it specifically for growth stage organizations to help founders who are trying to attract different audiences, customers and investors who are changing quite frequently, who might need to be extra flexible in their website as they discover new things on their journey. But we really do try and honor how everything touches everything in the marketing space.
One really important thing to note before we wrap up this section, once your website is built and it's live, there does need to be this expectation that it does need to grow and evolve as you grow and evolve, both in terms of just regular updates and showing up in search and all of these different places, which is a whole other tangle that we'll talk about another time.
We should totally talk about that another time.
We will talk about that another time, but you do need to have this expectation that you don't just build a website and set and forget it. It is something that has to continue to be updated, and it does need that consistent evolution to stay relevant.
So the power build is complete. You have a beautiful, shiny, effective, hardworking website that you are just so excited to share and so proud of. So as a founder, this is a really amazing moment to just have a website that you're really proud of. But even better, how does this affect your sales cycles?
So websites are amazing tools in terms of shortening a sales cycle. And the reason that is because a website is this amazing due diligence tool. When someone is directed to your website, or they've heard about your company, or you have a social post that directs them to your website, whatever it might be, however they land there, they're going to comb through the content. to understand if you actually have the authority, the credibility that you're acting like you have. They want to make sure that they understand what you do very clearly. They're going to compare you to other companies that do similar things. And it is a tool to say, hey, I am really good at what I do, and here's what I do. Here's how you can get in contact with me. And that tool can make those sales cycles so much shorter. It's amazing for that. It also is really helpful for the investor side of things.
Yeah. Now, I will preface this with good investors and investment funds are very skilled at digging deep to your business's potential, even if the website is terrible. Right?
But they're also getting hit with so many decks and so many companies that they have to research. Why would you make them work harder?
Signaling investor readiness and a chance at future success is very feasible through your website. And in fact, you can both support customer relations as well as investor relations with a well thought out, well-developed website.
So when a founder comes to me and says, I only have limited dollars for my marketing, I only have so many funds, I will tell you every time to make your website really, really strong. Because no matter what else you're doing, none of your other marketing tactics are going to work if your website is not strong. So it is that amazing sales tool, no matter how developed your marketing ecosystem is.
That's a really great point too, right? I mean, when it comes to having a website, obviously you need to send people there or people need to find it, right? Making it findable through SEO or getting the word out, driving people to the website through your marketing tactics. Like the website itself, you do need to get traffic there, right? But if you are working on getting traffic to a crap website, that traffic is way less likely to do anything.
Well, and it's not just not doing anything, it will actively harm your company. Like people get this bad taste in their mouth. If you can't have a decent website, why would they believe that you can do the thing that you say you're doing? So I would go as far as to say a bad website is actively harming your business.
You're losing sales in your sleep.
Exactly.
Versus shortening sales cycles, closing deals, and hearing fewer, we'll think about it.
So we want to walk through a few of our favorite websites and why they are so special, why they're ones that really stood out for us.
So we've already spoken about BOPA, Barnell Precision Agriculture, based out of La Junta, Colorado. Sarah Hinckley's the founder of that company. First of all, just amazing to be able to support rural founders doing very cool things in the Mountain West. But the challenge was communicating to farmers. So something very highly technical to folks who are working their butts off and do not have time to decode jargony language. So the challenge of coming up with messaging that really spoke to farmers was really powerful. And Sarah is an expert at that.
And I think it's a really great example of a website that grew with the company. Another great example of a website for a growth stage organization is King Energy. We talk about them a lot. They're a client that we've worked with very extensively. And I think what was so cool about their website is it was an aspirational website. When we started with them, they weren't where they are now. Now they are just kicking butt. But where it started, they were not quite there, but they had this vision, and we built a website to that vision, and now they're stepping into that. And I think that's really cool.
Absolutely. Another great example is Craft Crate. So this is an early stage organization. The founder, James Matazinski, came to us, and he was still in the product development stage, but what he really needed was MOUs signed so that he could approach investors and demonstrate that investor readiness. So building a web presence that talked about the benefits, that spoke about how special his product was, and also had built-in functionality to get signed MOUs was really powerful for him at that stage.
I think what made that website build so successful is he did have this really clear strategic need. And when you can build around this strategic need, it's much, much easier to make something powerful.
Absolutely. We had another interesting use case with a company that's actually over 40 years old, but they had never really put a lot of thought into their website. So United Pipeline, which is actually based in Durango, Colorado, they're headquartered here. They provide liners for water and mining and oil pipes to extend the life of those pipes. So also fairly technical, but also very established. And the founder...
40-year history.
So the founder came to us really wanting to reclaim their authority status in the space. Everyone knows who they are in the pipeline space, but they wanted to really own that and put forth their look and feel and their dominance in this interesting industry.
Yeah, and what was really interesting on this site is their website traffic, their organic traffic was pretty minimal early on. And then through building the site and supporting with some other marketing tactics, of course, like now
the SEO exploded.
It's huge. It's crazy. They're doing great.
And that's a global company, right? So like a website meeting the needs of a global footprint is also part of understanding what their goals are, what their needs were, and then creating a great outcome.
Another really cool one that's on the opposite end, it's a new organization. It's a nonprofit. It's called Rising Routes. They are a nonprofit that is trying to support equity in the outdoors. And when they came to us, they had a landing page to download a report that they'd put together.
Yeah.
That was it.
Which is actually pretty smart.
Yeah,
I mean, building their email list before they could even put together a website.
Cool. No shame.
But truly building the website from the ground up with them was so remarkable, and not even having to go in and do like a rebuild. Like we were truly sitting down with Jason Swan, the founder, and really thinking through what are they trying to achieve? What are the important messages? Who are they trying to serve? And what was really cool about that process actually was because Rising Routes and the outdoor space is so visual, we did a ton of work on curating photography and videos to populate the website, which was really, really cool.
Well, and that was a fun one because the founder, Jason, he's definitely a visionary. He has these huge ideas, huge thoughts, and it was amazing to bring that into something real. And well, I mean, as real as the internet, but something tangible that you could go and click on.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah. And now, it's helping connect collaborators in the space and helping populate their email list even more strongly, and hopefully down the line, helping promote a lot more equity in the outdoors across the nation.
So anyways, you should check out all of those websites. We'll have them linked in our description here, so you can just click the links. They're really cool examples of founders that put a lot of thought and time into their ecosystem, working with us to build something that's really remarkable.
At various stages. So when a founder is looking at their website, what are some of the things, in summary, that they should be thinking about to avoid some of the website traps that we see all the time?
Yeah, so it's never just a website. You need to go all the way back to that messaging, that story, the business goals, the things that you are trying to build, and do that strategy first. And it's a lift and it takes a while, but it is such an important step. Everything comes from that. I think that for me is the most important lesson.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I also think an important reminder for founders who are looking at their website and thinking they need a redesign or thinking they need to build one is to think of your website as another member of your team, and hopefully a very high performing member of your team, right? Set big expectations and aspirations for what the website can do for you. Think critically about the ways that it can take some of the load off of your shoulders. You're already carrying a lot. You're already wearing a lot of hats. How can your website get put to work?
I love that. I think that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another one of these videos. If there is a topic that is just burning for you, please drop it in the comments. We would love to hear it. We'd love to talk about things that you're interested in. Thanks so much.
Yeah, see you soon.